This is an iPod 4th generation. Is it possible to use it in 2023? What obstacles will I have to overcome? Stay tuned to find out. Hey, I'm Hassan, and welcome to Retro Revive. Today, I have an iPod Touch 4th generation released by Apple in 2010. It's one of the more notable iPods in Apple's lineup because of the innovations it brought forth compared to its predecessors. I'll be testing out how it holds up and what use cases it can fulfill in 2023. Let's start with the specs. What made this iPod Touch different from the rest? It was the amount of things Apple had packed into it. They added an LED Retina display with 4 times as many pixels as the 3rd generation iPod Touch, the new Apple A4 chip that was also in the iPhone 4, cameras on the front and back, which were a first, and the craziest thing of all was that they made the iPod even thinner. These changes were very substantial compared to the incremental differences seen in the previous generations of the iPod Touch. Physically, after about 13 years, these iPods have held up about average. Mine is alright with no scratches or cracks on the front, but just like every iPod with a stainless steel back, it is scratched to oblivion. Unfortunately, is pretty average for one of these even in good condition. The overall build quality of the iPod really does stand the test of time. The Retina display's high pixel density makes the display surprisingly hold up well in 2023. The only issue with it is that it's pretty small to today's standards. Phones have grown in size, which makes things like typing on this iPod a bit of a challenge, but it doesn't take too long to get used to. There is one problem with these beautiful screens that plagues the iPod today, and it is dead pixels. Here is another 4th generation iPod that I have, and you may notice in the bottom right corners that there is a patch of dead pixels. What makes this worse is that the iPod is one of the hardest iPods to repair with an iFixit score of 4 out of 10. One thing you might have noticed about my iPod thus far is that it is in fact jailbroken. This is due to the necessity of having to sideload applications because in 2023, the App Store is not going to be your friend. You'll have a hard time downloading anything from the App Store due to lacking support from developers, and if you even get the apps on your device, there's a chance that online components are possibly even broken. If you're using this iPod in 2023, I'd really recommend staying to offline apps unless you're willing to put up with possible partial support for other applications that might be online. While the camera quality on this iPod is clearly not the best, I think one thing goes overlooked. The thing that goes overlooked is the aesthetic of the pictures. This iPod has a 0.7 megapixel rear camera and a 0.3 megapixel front-facing camera without HDR, which was included in the iPhone 4 released the same year. Today, these numbers are very bad, and the pictures come out very blurry. But if you get some shots in clear lighting, you can actually make it look pretty decent. It kind of gives you this 2000s camera aesthetic. Now I'll show you a comparison between my iPod and my Galaxy S21. Here we have the S21. Here's the iPod. Notice the lack of HDR. Again, the S21. And here's the iPod struggling with low light shots. And finally, here's a video on the S21. And here's an actually decent video on the iPod 4th gen. The 4G obviously did not take the best pictures, but the aforementioned aesthetic cannot be captured with the S21. I think it looks really cool here on the iPod. How well does the 4th generation iPod Touch live up to its iPod name? iOS 6 has a really well-made music app which is easy to navigate and easy to sync with iTunes. Another upside of this iPod is that it supports Bluetooth connectivity, which is mostly exclusive to the iPod Touch. Technology is an ever-changing industry, and with the popularization of wireless headphones, the iPod keeps up. Overall, for a device that doesn't really cost very much in the first place, I wouldn't see why not to buy one. It holds up pretty well in 2023, and I believe it can serve as a great secondary device for somebody. I recommend this iPod to people with a large iTunes library, people who want to run legacy software 32-bit apps, or just people who want to enjoy the classic iOS aesthetic. That is the end of the video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will try my best to reply to everybody. See you in the next video.